Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Beatrice. If this is your first time seeing my face on my YouTube channel, thank you so much for stopping by. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support so far. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to cut and sew this beautiful asymmetric tank top, how to draft it, how to cut it out, and how to stitch it. So if this is what you're interested in, please keep on watching, hit the like and subscribe button. Let's get right started into the video. To make this beautiful tank top, I used 1 yard of light crepe fabric, which is not too stretchy. But guys, I would advise you to use a very stretchy fabric when making a tank top. I just had this fabric left somewhere and I decided to use it for illustration purposes. So I'm just going to fold this fabric like so, and then I'll fold it into four again because I'm going to cut out the front and the back at the same time. I folded my fabric into four like so, and then I used the biggest part of my body measurement, which is my bust, divided by 4 plus 1 inch, and then I used my straight rule to draw a starting line like so. From my starting line, I place my tape like so to mark the length of my top, which is 19 inches, but I later on marked 20 inches because I'll use 1 inch to hem the down part of the top. From the center fold of the fabric, I marked my shoulder measurement divided by 2 like so, and then from that point I came down by 3/4 of an inch for my shoulder slope. I marked my neck width, which is 3.1 inches, and then my neck depth, which is 4 inches. Then I used my curve ruler to connect it like so. Then I used my straight ruler to connect from my neck width to my shoulder slope like so. From the shoulder or my starting line, I placed my tape vertically and I marked out my waist length measurement like so. Then I used my straight rule to connect it horizontally. From my shoulder slope, I placed my tape vertically and then I marked my armhole round divided by 2, which is 8. And then I placed my tape from the starting line to that point, and whatsoever I have there, I will extend it to the other side like so. Then I use my straight ruler to connect the lines horizontally. From my shoulder line, I measured what I had there and then I replicated it at the chest line or armhole line like so. And then I used my straight ruler to connect the lines upward like so. On my armhole line, I place my tape like so to get the midpoint of that armhole, and the midpoint of that area is 4 inches. From that midpoint, I went inward by half of an inch, and then I used my straight rule to connect from the shoulder to that midpoint like so. On my chest line, I marked a quarter of my bust round measurement like so. Using my curve ruler, I placed my curve ruler from the midpoint and then I connected those points to the bust round measurement. On my waistline, I marked a quarter of my waist round measurement. At the hemline of my top, I marked a quarter of my lower waist measurement. That is where my top stopped. That's the round circumference around that area. So because this fabric is not too stretchy, I added half inch allowance on the bust, the waist, and the hemline. And then I used my straight ruler to connect the lines like so. For my back neckline, I marked 1.5 inches as my neck depth, and then I used my curve ruler and connected a curve line like so. Then I used my scissors to cut it out. When cutting the shoulder slope, I cut 1/4 inch away from the main line so I can use it to join my shoulders. I also cut out my back neckline as well. After cutting it out, I notched the midpoint like so. So I went ahead to take out one piece of the top, that is the back piece, and then I arranged the other front piece properly, and then I went ahead to cut out my front neckline. After I cut out my front neckline, I opened up my top wide like so, and then I placed them on top of each other, the wrong sides facing each other. Then I arranged it properly. I used my pin to secure it around the shoulder line so it can stay in one place. After pinning the front and the back piece together, I went ahead to mark out the asymmetric neckline. If you want this asymmetric neckline to be at the left hand side, please do your markings at the left hand side. So from the neck of my neckline, I went outward like so by 2.7 inches and I marked it out. From the midpoint, I went inward or outward by half of an inch. Then from my front neckline, I came down by 4 inches and then I marked it out like so. I also traced out the half inch again. Then I used my free hand to make a curve towards that point at the middle like so. Then from my armhole line, I came down by half of an inch like so, and then I marked out the point. So I used my free hand to connect from that midpoint to that half inch I came down from the armhole line. Guys, I wished I didn't come down by half of an inch from that armhole line because I didn't want it to be too open. So I'm done marking out that line. If you want your asymmetric neckline to go inward, please go inward more. I don't want my chest to be too open, that's why. So from the other armhole side, I went inward by 1.5 inches and then I marked it out like so, and then I connected some dots, and then also on my armhole line I came down by half of an inch and connected the lines like so. After making out my markings, I went ahead to cut it out. After cutting it out, this is what we have. So before stitching, if you have a serger or a weaving machine, please take it and weave all your edges by the sides, the neck and the armhole. So I'll take it to my stitching machine and stitch the shoulders down by half of an inch. I'll stitch the sides by half of an inch before we can pipe the armhole and the neckline. So I went ahead to cut out some strips of fabric. If you have enough fabric, please cut a strip of fabric that is long enough to go around the armhole and the neckline. So the width of this strip of fabric is 1.5 inches. So we're going to use it to pipe the armhole and the neckline. Like I earlier on said, if you have a weaving machine, please weave your edges so it won't fray. So I already joined one part of the shoulder like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and join the other part of the shoulder. After joining the shoulders, I'll go ahead and join the sides of the top like so. After joining my shoulders, I went ahead to pipe one side of this asymmetric neckline. I lost the clip while I was doing that, so I'm going to illustrate on the other side of the armhole. So I got these strips of fabric and then I joined it into two like so. You can see from that joining, we're going to open the seams um at this strap, on this strap, sorry, and then I'll place it at that shoulder joining from the wrong side. I'll place it at that center from the wrong side. I'll open those seams up like so. I'll go ahead and stitch it down by half of an inch all the way to the other side. So because we started joining at the center point of the shoulder, we're going to end one part of it around the joining of the armhole. So when I reach that area, I'll mark it out and stitch and stop there. After stitching from one end to the other, I'll go ahead and stitch from the center to the other part of the armhole. That's on the other side, like so. Just like I did for the other side, when I stitched and reached to the joining of the armhole, I made a mark there, then I stitched and stopped around that area. After joining on both sides to the armhole, you can see where the joining stopped. So I'm just going to place those straps right sides facing each other like so. I'll stitch it down by half of an inch like so. Just stitch it down by half of an inch. After stitching it, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the excess, leaving out half inch like so. After joining the strap to the wrong side of the top or the fabric, I flipped it to the right side so we can go ahead and stitch the strap towards the front side of the fabric. So from the center joining, I folded it like so. I'll fold it twice again and stitch it down. After top stitching on one end, you can see what it looks like. So I went ahead to trim out the excess threads by the sides. So you can see what it looks like. But the next thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to top stitch on top of it on the other extreme end like so. After top stitching again on the other ends, this is what I have. So this same process I did for the armhole is the same thing I'm going to do for my neckline. But first of all, I went ahead to measure around my neckline to know the length of strap I'm working with. And when I measured around my neckline, I had 23.5. So that's the length of strap I'm working with for the neckline. Taking my strap, which I cut out from the measurement I got around my neck, um I'm going to, the same way I did the piping for the armhole, I'm going to flip this top inside, that's from the wrong side. Then I'll just try and get the midpoint of this strap. I'll notch it like so. After notching the midpoint, then I'm going to place the midpoint from the joining of the shoulder, and then I'll stitch it down by half of an inch all the way to the other side, just like we did earlier. After stitching down the strap from the inside, if you can see, I have excess from both ends, that's from the other shoulder joining. So I'll just place it together like so. I'll just align it together. I'll go ahead and stitch it down by half of an inch. When I'm done stitching, I'll go ahead and cut out the excess. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'll flip my top to the right side like so. Then from where at the shoulder joining, one of the shoulder joining, I'll just fold it into two. I'll fold it again and top stitch it round. After doing the first top stitch, don't mind how this is looking rough. I'm going to still iron it out. So I'm going to do the second top stitch at the other extreme end like so, all the way round. After doing the second top stitch around the neckline, this is what I have. The next thing to do is to hem the down part of the top. I'll fold it by half of an inch and fold it again. I'll go ahead and stitch it all round. After hemming the down part of my top, this is what it looks like. So the next thing to do is to use your hot pressing iron and iron around the asymmetric area, the armhole and the neckline where we did the piping so it can lay really flat. So when I plugged my iron on, NEPA took the light, so the iron was just a little bit hot. That was why I was just trying to illustrate this. So guys, like I earlier on said, please, when making a tank top, use a very stretchy fabric so it can be able to pass your head. So we've come to the end of this tutorial. Please, if you've watched to this extent, please leave a like and a comment. And please, guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will see you in my next tutorial. Bye.